When I first meet families on their caregiving journey, the first thing that I normally hear is something is just not working anymore, and that something or someone is feeling broken. And it usually sounds something like this: Laura, we had a plan when mom was first diagnosed, but that was 2 years ago, and I'm about to lose my mind. Or I'm feeling exhausted, isolated, and burned out. Can you please help us? And my answer is usually the same: I can, but there are some adjustments that need to be made. And it starts with adjusting your plan of care or your care plan. For those of you who are unfamiliar, the care plan is one of those things that families either forget about or cling to like it's carved in stone. But caregiving isn't static. Your loved one's needs, your routines, and even your own energy all shift over time. And if you're following the same plan of care that you started with, there's a good chance that it's no longer serving you. And that's where families start to feel like they're constantly behind, reacting instead of leading with advocacy. I'm Laura Wilkerson, and in my medical house call practice, I've sat at hundreds of kitchen tables with families who were doing their very best, but they felt like everything kept changing faster than they could keep up. And what I've learned is this: the families who thrive aren't the ones with the perfect plans in place. They're the ones that treat their plans like they're a living, breathing roadmap. Today, I'd like to help you understand three very important things: what a care plan really is, why it needs to evolve as you evolve, and how to recognize when it's time to adjust. So if you've never heard of a care plan, hang tight. We're about to get into it. So, what is a care plan? Because what I find is most people think that a care plan is a pile of paperwork. Maybe it's the doctor notes, the medication list, maybe it's a summary from the hospital or the last discharge. But that's not what I'm talking about here. A real care plan is a shared understanding between you, your family, and every single professional who touches your loved one's life. And it tells the story of your loved one and what matters most and how it will support you and them. I like to think of it as the who does what of caregiving. It's the routines that keep your days as predictable as they can be. It's the medication changes, the safety tweaks, those small preferences that all make your life easier. Let me give you an example. A daughter I was working with once told me that her mom with dementia was refusing to shower. Her facility where she lived was documenting it as a refusal of hygiene. But when we looked at the bigger picture, we realized that her mom had always taken baths and never showers. And that one insight changed everything. And that's the power of a care plan, because it captures the person and not just their diagnosis. The first thing that I want you to know is that your care plan should grow because dementia is constantly changing. If the care plan doesn't change while the disease does, then your stress is going to skyrocket. You're going to start reacting to every challenge like it's the first time that you've seen it. And when I meet families, if they don't review their care plans regularly, those tiny little problems begin to snowball into bigger problems. And it could look like a minor sleep change turning into nighttime wandering, or a skip meal becomes significant weight loss. A medication side effect goes completely unnoticed until it's a fall with a fracture. And if any of those things are happening in your life, those aren't failures. Those are signs that your care plan needs to be updated and adjusted. The emotional toll is enormous. When you're always putting out fires, you start believing that you're the one who's failing, when really you've just fallen into the system gap. Because nobody's taken the time to help you adjust your plan of care as your person's dementia is evolving. And you need a system that adapts as quickly as your situation changes. Let me tell you about another family. A husband who was caring for his wife with Alzheimer's, he had had the same plan of care taped to his refrigerator for over 3 years. It listed every medication, every therapy appointment, every daily routine, except nothing in their day looked like what was taped to the fridge anymore. When we met, He was exhausted, angry, and blaming himself. But once we sat down and we updated that care plan together, cutting out what was no longer working for him and adding realistic steps, he said that for the first time in years, he felt like he could breathe again. And that's what happens when your care plan finally matches your reality. And I want you to feel that too. So, why is it that most people wait too long? I think it's because they think that updating means starting all over again, and it doesn't have to. Updating your care plan isn't admitting defeat. It's not saying, I messed up. It's saying, we've learned something and we're adjusting. Because caregiving is like medicine, it's trial, learning, and then refining it. The best clinicians adjust all the time, and caregivers should too. So, how do you know when it's time to revisit your care plan? There are 3 moments I see over and over again. So, let's talk about those now. The first one is when routines start breaking down. Maybe meals are taking twice as long, or their hygiene is suddenly a daily battle. Those changes tell you your loved one's abilities or tolerances have shifted. The second one is when behaviors or medical needs start to change. If new medications, agitation, or confusion start to appear, the plan that you made before might not fit anymore. And that's your cue to look deeper and start making those adjustments. The last one is really super important to me for you as a caregiver. And that's when you start to feel overwhelmed or even slightly resentful. And I think that caregivers often overlook this one because they don't want to feel resentful, because they feel guilt over feeling resentful. It's okay for you to feel resentful, but what we need to do is change the plan so that you no longer feel that way. Because if you're running on fumes, the plan is not sustainable, and no care plan works if you're burnt out. Now, those are the indicators of the what and the why. How to fix it is you need to sit down with your primary care or their primary care and start looking at adjusting the end goals. And you need to sit down with them and have good conversations. I don't know what this is going to look like for you, but here in my practice, this is about an hour-long visit where we sit down and we revisit who they were, who they are now, how we keep them safe, and how do we meet them where they are today. And if anything sounded like you, I want you to take a second and ask yourself, when was the last time that I looked at our care plan? Not just to check off those boxes, but to make sure that it truly reflects who your loved one is today and meeting their needs today. If you find yourself hesitating and you can't remember, that's okay, because awareness is that first step. I just had somebody in group today say, I didn't realize how much of my anxiety came from living in an outdated care plan. And after updating it, she stopped feeling like she had to justify every single decision because it was all written down and current. And that's the type of care that I want for every caregiver watching this. So just a quick recap. A care plan isn't medical paperwork. It's not something that your doctor keeps and then uploads into a portal. A care plan is your shared roadmap to give the best care to your person. It needs to evolve because your person's dementia is evolving and progressing. And you're going to know when it's time to adjust because those routines, their behaviors, and your energy are going to tell you. You don't have to do that care plan perfectly. You just have to keep that care plan alive and adjusting as your person's needs change. And that's what advocacy and good care look like in real life. If this helped you feel just a little bit more confident about caring for your person, then hit subscribe so you don't miss next week's caregiver-friendly tips on how to know when your person needs more help. Because real caregiving isn't perfect, but it is personalized. And I want to help you create that plan that fits both you and your loved one. And until next week, I'll be here sharing for you while you're caring for them. See you next time.